presentation. I'm going to start my webcam just so you can see me. Hi, I'm Laura Knutson, and I am the EPA Community Involvement Coordinator for the Portland Harbor Superfund Site. And tonight's webinar is about EPA's Superfund Job Training Initiative and the Portland Harbor Superfund Site. So we are lucky to have some really great presenters with us tonight. We have Viola Cooper, who is with EPA Region 9. And I'm going to do a quick bio of Viola. She's a 33-year career employee, of which 30 years have been with the U.S. EPA. Her title as a Community Involvement Coordinator, or CIC, in Region 9 includes assisting Superfund communities in their interaction with EPA and ensure that technical staff are aware of issues that concern the public in relation to the cleanup work EPA is doing. In addition to being a CIC, she is the National Program Manager for the Superfund Job Training Initiative program for Regions 6 to 10. She advocates for job training at Superfund sites and its communities. In her spare time, she loves gardening in the backyard, spending time with her family, and catching up with friends. And we also have Sean Sheldrake tonight presenting, and he is a remedial project manager and unit diving officer. So Sean, and he's a remedial project manager, technical project lead on the Portland Harbor Superfund Site. So Sean Sheldrake has worked for the U.S. EPA as a project manager in the Superfund cleanup program since 1992. He is currently working on implementing the Portland Harbor cleanup, and in addition to leading EPA Region 10's dive unit, Sean also holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Chemical Engineering from the University of Washington. So tonight we are going to be doing a general overview. I'm going to go quickly to the agenda. We're going to be doing a general overview of what the Superfund Job Training Initiative is, what is it. Viola is going to be covering that because she is our program manager for the region. She covers regions 6 through 10, but Region 10 is in her purview. And so we're very lucky to have Viola on tonight. And then Sean and myself will be going over a draft plan for Super JTI at Portland Harbor. And then we will be opening up the rest of the time to a question and answer session, again, where you can ask questions into the Q&A pod at the bottom of the screen. And as I said before, please put questions that you have about the presentation content into the Q&A pod at any time, and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. It's not incredibly long. So with that being said, I think I'm going to pass it over to Viola. And Viola, I'm actually going to hold on one second, go ahead and put your picture up so you can see what Viola looks like while she gives her presentation. And Viola, I'll click through the slides for you. So can you go ahead and let's make sure your audio is okay. Are you on the phone, Viola? Let's see, I'll go ahead and unmute you. Looks like you're muted. Okay, Viola, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Excellent.
Oh, good. Okay. Well,
can you see the screen okay?
Great. Yes, I can. Yes, and I am so happy to be here tonight with you all. Thank you, Laura, for the invitation. And Sean, thank you very much to be part of this webinar. I'm really happy to be here tonight with you all. Seems like we have a great turnout. So I'll go right into the presentation. So what is Super JPI? Well, it is a Superfund Job Training Initiative program. We call it Super JTI for short, and it is a job readiness program funded by EPA headquarters. So the program targets areas and communities that are affected by Superfund sites, and we try to involve the underemployed or unemployed community members for the program. And during the job readiness program, attendees are provided with training in remediation and hazardous waste cleanup at no cost to them. And the site-specific trainings will vary slightly from program to program because each Superfund site is different. And also depending on the needs of the nearby Superfund communities and what sort of skill sets the RA or the remedial action contractors in the areas are requiring. And lastly, the program assists attendees with job placement into positions that have been set aside by the contractors at the site. And it's important to note that these positions are never guaranteed, but we do our best to make sure that there are contractors who are interested in the Super JTI graduates before we even begin the program. We design the program based on the type of training or trained new hires that the contractors are seeking and discuss potential openings ahead of time whenever possible. So this photo here that you see is a group of community volunteers and partners, contractors, EPA regional staff, and the Super JTI project staff from our Kerr-McGee Super JTI project in Columbus, Mississippi. The Region 4 project manager, Charles King, is at the top row, second from the right. This group of people evaluated and selected the trainees for this particular project during our program tryouts, which we will talk about more later on. So I think we can go on to the next slide. Okay, how does it work? How does Super JTI work? Well, we talked a little bit about the basics of Super JTI, and that is, it is a job readiness program which provides remediation and employment training to community members in Superfund affected areas. But how does it actually work? I'll discuss each of these points in more detail on the following slides, but here is the basic rundown. We start the program in an area by building relationships with local businesses, community organizations, and federal agencies. And we do take our lead from our regional staff, EPA staff. While working with our project partners, we can help build that capacity of local organizations. Then we move on to applicant requirements. This is how we find our potential Super JTI participants, and our methods for outreach vary based on the location and Superfund site. After finding interested participants, we perform an extensive screening process and a tryouts day to select the trainees. After tryouts, the selected Super JTI participants go through training, graduation, and then a follow-up period that involves job placement assistance. And this photo here is from our Onondaga Lake Super JTI trainees, posing with the previous EPA Regional Administrator, Region 2 Administrator, Judith Enck, in green at the graduation ceremony for the project in Syracuse, New York. Okay, next slide, please. So what communities are eligible? You're probably thinking about a few sites you work with or a community you live in or know about, and specifically for the Portland Harbor, and are wondering whether it will be eligible at this present point. Well, we consider many different types of sites or communities for potential Super JTI projects. And they include CERCLA sites, Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation and Liability Act, regulated sites or Superfund sites, RCRA sites, Resource, Conservation and Recovery Act, regulated sites, federal facilities, and even tribal removal sites. However, we don't consider brownfields as future locations for these projects because brownfields has its own job training program. And next slide, please. So, working with contractors, local contractors can assist us in the planning of program, the implementation of the program, and most importantly, the job placement portion of the program. If we are considering a Super JTI program, We will discuss the jobs available in detail with site contractors at a minimum of 3 months prior to the job start dates. If the jobs at the site fit the requirements and timeline, EPA can bring Super JTI to a site. And it's really helpful to have these local contractors on board before we start. They help determine what kind of training the graduates will receive, because we include the training courses that the contractor requests in the program. And of course, this saves the contractor money. They do not have to train new employees, and they can hire locally. Some contractors will require their employees to meet certain criteria in addition to training. And these criteria will be integrated into our screening and training processes. Examples of job requirements are: you must be able to bend, stoop, and lift 50 pounds. You must be eligible to work in the United States. You must have a high school diploma or an equivalent, GED. You must be able to pass a drug or background check. And these are the requirements of the contractor. If we work with the contractor ahead of time, we can ensure that our screening process and training program mirror their hiring process. This helps Super JTI to present the contractor with the perfect applicant for the position. So approximately 8 to 10 jobs are needed to bring Super JTI to a site. If we have fewer than 8, I need to know ahead of time so that we can plan the timing and a good fit for the site. The photos here is from a hands-on exercise during a 40-hour HAZWOPER training at the Savannah River site. Okay, next slide, please. Developing partnerships. Developing partnerships is crucial, not only with local contractors, but also with local businesses, universities, community organizations, and public agencies. These entities know the area and the community best, and they can serve as community or effective liaisons between EPA or EPA contractors and the community. Local organizations are already familiar with the community and its residents and can help us make outreach and job placement smoother. The more a community is involved in Super JTI programs, the easier it will be to spread the word about the graduates and increase job placement after training. I do want to mention about a Super JTI project that I am doing in the Los Angeles County area of La Puente, California. It is in progress right now. We just had tryouts on Friday, and lessons are being learned as we speak right now. And I'd be happy to talk about that, but let me get through these couple of slides, and maybe we can talk about them during the Q&A session. So as I mentioned earlier, some groups may even wish to support the program by donating resources such as training venues, recruitment staff, or graduation ceremony assistance. A community partner subcontractor will be chosen and paid by the EPA headquarters Super JPI contractor. This person or organization is our eyes and ears in the community. They help us with on-site tasks, communication with the participants, and outreach. They provide a constant local presence throughout the entire program. Super JTI staff works with local organizations and the community partner to build their capacity whenever possible. Next slide, please. So here are some sample training courses. And this project was our second project, Northridge Estate Site in 2017, second project in Region 10. The EPA Region 10 staff and the community partner subcontractor for the project, Klamath County Chamber of Commerce, reached out to the Klamath Falls community by posting flyers, sending emails, advertising on social media, running ads in the local paper. Super JTI and the Klamath County Chamber of Commerce staff hosted 8 information sessions on the program in March 2017. If you remember, we mentioned a self-selection process earlier. Here is the self-selection process by the numbers at the 2017 Northridge Estates project. 79 people came to the information sessions and completed the preliminary testing. Following these sessions, 59 people returned and submitted required documents. 43 of those people participated in the program tryouts, and 16 trainees were selected. None of the 79 initially interested people were turned away by Super JTI staff. However, through the extended recruitment process, only those that are truly interested and committed to starting and finishing the project remain and attend the tryouts. All 16 of the trainees selected went on to complete the program. As we also mentioned earlier in the presentation, the RA contractors for the Northridge Estates 2 projects, Northwind, identified 7 courses that would be ideal for a new hire to have when coming to work with them on the site. We added those to the training for the Super JTI at the Northridge Estates site, and the participants of the program were trained in 8 courses: job readiness or pre-employment skills, 40-hour HAZWOPER, forklift, CPR first aid, asbestos operations and maintenance, OSHA 10-hour construction safety, flagging, and fall protection. This includes a total of 6 certifications they can use on the job at the Northridge Estate site or elsewhere. The pre-employment training was provided by Headquarters Super JTI SKIO staff, and the technical training was provided by project partner Klamath Community College. The program was overseen on the ground by the community partner subcontractor Klamath County Chamber of Commerce, who we worked with for both the 2016 and the 2017 projects. So that's it for my portion of the presentation. Laura?
Great, thank you so much, Viola. Now we're going to transition into the next section of the presentation, which is not super long, so we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. And I just want to say I've gotten a couple questions in the Q&A pod already, so please keep on asking them, and we will be covering them once we finish this next section of the presentation. I'm going to go ahead and put Sean's picture up here, because this next section of the presentation is our initial thoughts and proposed plan that Sean and I have been discussing a lot with ourselves and also our management here, and with Viola too, about how Super JTI could apply at the Portland Harbor Superfund Site. So Sean, I'm going to go ahead and give you this slide.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Viola. This is Sean Sheldrake, again, project manager on Portland Harbor, and I'm just going to go over the different stages of the cleanup and where we see the bulk of the jobs residing as part of the cleanup. And obviously we're moving into remedial design right now that we've got a cleanup decision as of 2017 And so there are some opportunities that we've been discussing during the design process, mostly with field sampling activities along the lines of a number of the jobs that Viola was going over would be, related to sampling activities on boats, on beaches, riverbanks, that the training, the hazardous waste operations training would be helpful as a entry-level sort of position in conducting that sampling work. And then as we move forward into cleanup, more jobs being available at that time, because the cleanup is anticipated to be approximately $1 billion of active work over approximately a decade, number of positions being available as part of the dredging of contaminated materials, for barges, deckhands, that sort of thing, and as well as capping contaminated materials and all the sampling that's associated with those active cleanup measures as well. And then as we move into long-term monitoring, that will have a number of jobs associated with it as well. And we think that we'll be moving into construction in approximately 3 years. Back to you,
Great.
Laura.
Thank you, Sean. So I'm going to keep Sean's picture up, even though I'm going to take the next slide. So how are we thinking about both the pilot and remedial design that Sean was giving some more detail about, and then also the additional Super JTI programs that we anticipate providing in the remedial action phase? So I'm going to start with our rough, and again, this is very general right now, but we wanted to share our thoughts about the next steps. So our proposed plan and kind of general plan right now for a Super JTI pilot and remedial design, we're starting that work this fall, the work of actually scoping out that pilot. And we're hoping with Viola's help, which Viola and I check in pretty regularly, that there is a possibility we might be able to do a pilot of Super JTI next year if this scoping work goes as we hope. So one part of the scoping work, and this ties into a lot of the pieces Viola covered in her presentation, is doing an initial scoping with potentially responsible parties, or PRPs, and their contractors. So, that's really, talking to PRPs who have stepped up to work and start remedial design work and eventually remedial action work at areas in the harbor, and figure out how their contracting processes work, talk to their contractors to work with Viola to have some scoping conversations with Viola, myself, and Sean to really get a sense of how that contracting works and what is feasible, and just develop some relationships for what could be feasible for remedial design. So that's the first part, that we've done a little tiny bit of that already with the PRPs and designers, who are working on the remedial design right now, but barely anything, just starting to kind of get that ball rolling. And this webinar this evening is a part of that, because I know that there are some PRPs and contractors on tonight, so thank you very much for being on. The second piece of the proposed plan is also doing initial scoping with job training organizations, job placement groups, and academic institutions. In Viola's presentation, she mentioned the Los Angeles project that is currently in progress. So they're learning lessons with that as we speak. But in that project, they're working really to leverage the power of Los Angeles in terms of all of the great job training organizations and job placement groups that are there. Because in Super JTI, in an area like Portland that also has really great job training organizations and job placement groups and academic institutions. I know some of you are on the webinar tonight, so thank you very much for being on. In an area like that, which is similar in some ways, but also very different to Los Angeles, leveraging those groups and those resources, to try to maximize the effectiveness of Super JTI can be a really powerful thing. For example, there are obviously, positions, that we're training for, with this program directly related to the cleanup, but we really, with Super JTI, and Viola, I think shares this, we are training graduates through Super JTI who we really want to be competitive, strongly competitive in all, as many, as competitive as possible. So, they could, have jobs that are related to, other sectors, or they could do other work that's not necessarily just tied to the cleanup. They could be competitive for other things. That's the beauty of the Superfund Job Training Initiative program. They have this, great training, like, that has Whopper course Viola mentioned, is really helpful in a lot of industries. But that coursework can be tailored, depending on the cohort and depending on, the conversations that we have with contractors and PRPs, and also job training organizations and job placement groups. So that's a really key thing that I think, in Portland, we and I, really want to focus on, especially for a pilot and remedial design when Super JTI isn't often applied as much in remedial design. I've gotten a couple questions already about that in the chat, that it seems like it's more, suited to remedial action, and that's because there are a lot of, there tend to be more, not always a lot, but more positions then. So doing this, scoping with the job training organizations, job placement groups, I think is really, in academic institutions, is really important for Portland Harbor and the Portland area for this program. And then the last piece is, working with community and tribal members and other partners. We've been trying to do that, but can always do better. And, we have been working, EPA, and I, myself and Sean and our team have been working with, community leaders in the Portland area to let them know, that we're starting to, focus on Super JTI more and doing a pilot. But, continuing to network with additional groups and partners, community and tribal members and other partners is really important to make sure this program is effective and keep people updated on the timeline. That's critical, obviously. So that, again, work starting now and some of it already ongoing. So this is rather repetitive from the last slide, so I won't spend too much time on it, and then we'll go into the question and answer session. But with, the remedial action phase, that's, again, from that diagram that Sean went over in the beginning, we hope to do additional Super JTI programs in the remedial action phase. And, that phase is going to take some time. And I think Viola mentioned this, but, you can do multiple Super JTI projects over the life of a cleanup. So our hope would be that we wouldn't do just one Super JTI cohort during remedial action, but hopefully more than one. But, that work, really starts now with building those relationships, again, with PRPs and contractors, the job training organizations and job placement groups and academic institutions, and, continuing to work with community and tribal members and other partners is critical, because, we're hoping with that pilot work that's going, we're hoping, would be able to occur next year, that, all of those pieces would already be somewhat oiled for us to continue to scope out during remedial action additional projects or additional Super JTI cohorts that would occur. So that is our hope. So with that said, I'm going to hand it back to Sean. And Sean already went over some of these on the first slide, which was great. But Sean, do you want to go ahead and talk a little more about the potential positions too that we've kind of brainstormed for Portland Harbor and remedial design and remedial action?
Sure, thanks, Laura. So these are just ideas of the types of jobs that Super JTI training would likely prepare someone well for, and we're looking into what sort of additional or more suited to sediment work type of training could be offered in conjunction with the usual components of JTI, like HAZWOPER training, but deckhands on barges and small boats, putting anchors in, taking anchors out, moving lines around to position dredges and capping barges as needed, samplers. As we go through design, a lot of sampling will take place, which requires a lot of small dredge buckets to be pulled off the bottom, and also there'll be a number of sampling activities actually during remedial action as well. But of course, during remedial action, small boat captains, truck drivers, flaggers, depending on how waste is hauled off-site, whether it's by barge or by truck, are just examples of the many jobs that would likely be paired with the program for potential placements with the various contractors that'll all be working simultaneously throughout that approximately decade-long period to get the cleanup done as expeditiously as possible.
Thank you, Sean. So we, believe it or not, are actually at the question and answer period piece. So I have a few questions that have come in, and I know that the piece by Sean and myself was rather general, but we're happy to answer more questions. And Viola, of course, is obviously the national expert. So I'm going to put, just so you can see what everyone looks like, I'm going to go ahead and put them here, and then I'm going to restart my webcam. So hello again. So I'm going to go ahead and read a few questions that we've received. And a couple, I think most of these have been answered, but we'll go ahead and make sure I'll read them anyway, just to make sure that the, maybe just to recap for everyone too. But continue, please, to type questions in the Q&A pod, and we'd be happy to answer them. So we have a question. What's the average number of graduates per Super JTI project? So Viola, this one would be for you. What's the average number of graduates per Super JTI project? Thank you.
Hi, Laura, and hi, everyone. I'd say it ranges from between 15 to 25 graduates. Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you. All right. And then we have one other one, and I feel like, well, this was partially answered, but perhaps not completely. So Sean and Viola, I guess maybe a bit for both of you. So it's the Super JTI appears best suited to remedial action activities. Would this program be applicable to remedial design activities? And so I think we've covered that it can be. It just takes a bit more scoping to make sure that we have enough trainees and enough, positions that would be available at the end of the program. in order to warrant, the resources to have the Super JPI program. So the question is, would this program also be applicable to remedial design activities, and then including pre-remedial design investigations? So Sean, did you want to take a stab at the last piece, the including pre-remedial design and investigation piece, or?
Sure. Thanks, Laura. I think there are, a couple of different types of jobs that would be applicable to the design, data gap sort of investigations, sampling, holding times being what they are. There'll be a lot of sampling transfer type of jobs, driving trucks, vans to get samples to the lab, small boat operations, and the logistics of pulling a sample out of the river, or off the beach, or off the riverbank, and preparing that sample to be labeled and shipped off to the lab. I think there's a number of different opportunities there, though admittedly there are a lot more opportunities we expect during the cleanup phase.
Great. Thank you very much. Viola, did you want to add in anything to that?
From my point of view, or where I stand, as long as there are jobs, we can start anytime. So as long as we coordinate with the site team, make sure it's okay, to start, we're ready.
Thanks, Viola. And I have been getting a couple just personal messages, coming in just to me, just on that note about some people who would like to discuss, additional, discuss this program more, and some potential positions and potential collaborations. So just wanted to make a note of that. So we don't have any more questions in the room right now and in the Q&A pod. So I'll just give everyone a couple more minutes. If you have any questions, please go ahead and type them into the Q&A pod. Sounds like, Viola, you did a great job of covering what most people had questions about, and Sean, you as well. So we'll give everyone maybe just one more minute till 6:46, so you can start just to kind of take it in and think if you have any other questions.
Laura?
Yes.
Hi, this is Viola. I'm just wondering, are there any job placement organizations in the room that we may be able to partner with? Just want to kind of scope out what they do and how we can partner with them.
That is an excellent question. So I know we have at least one, and oh great, we have another question too. So we have at least one, but what I think would be great, if you are part of a job placement organization, and I know, again, we have one. I just don't necessarily want to call anyone out. So if you want to type into the Q&A pod and just, let me know, especially if I haven't talked to you before. The one who's in here, I know I've spoken with them in the past. So, if you want to connect with me and Viola, you can type in the Q&A pod. We'll connect with you, and that would be wonderful. So we have a question from Jennifer. So Viola, this one is for you. Can you talk a little about process once the program is initiated?
Okay, so we do a lot of upfront planning before we even start the project. I can talk to you a little bit about the project that we're doing in the LA area right now. It's for the San Gabriel Valley, Puente Valley Operable Unit. It's part of a huge, one of the largest groundwater Superfund sites in the nation. And the community is in La Puente, California, and it's part of LA County. There are lots of people, you know, as you know, in LA that live there. And so we thought that the outreach would be a challenge because we don't necessarily want to announce it to the entire LA County and have like 1 million people come to our, you know, job training program. So we did some targeted outreach in the community, not so much targeted in the community, but in the entire San Gabriel Valley. And that encompasses about 50 square miles entirely. So it did go out to folks because we did reach out through the Water Quality Authority. You know, water is a huge thing in LA. We worked with the La Puente Adult Education Center, America's Jobs Center of California, and we announced our training on radio spots, advertised in the San Gabriel Valley Tribune, which is a newspaper there. Flyers were distributed in the community. We did a Facebook boost post and an Eventbrite page for easy registration. And then we also know of community members that have phone trees, so they made sure that they sent out information to their group. And then so once the community was notified, we scheduled some information sessions, and they are sessions where people come. We invite people to come to the information sessions through this outreach that we did. And a lot of times we ask them to pre-register, call this number, or, you know, and let us know that you're coming. It just depends on the site, what we do there. But we had a total of 102 people come to 15 information sessions. We had over 80 people attend the 15 info sessions. As I mentioned earlier in my presentation, this is a self-selection process. We don't say you can't come or you're not qualified or anything like that. People choose to come, to show up, to want to get a career in environmental jobs. So then out of the 80 people that attended the 15 sessions, 73 people elected to continue with the application process and take the test. And we provide a very short test just to see if people can add, subtract, multiply, divide, you know, and it's very easy. Just want to make sure that people can read and write and add a little bit. And then once they took the test, we invite people back to return for document submission, which is, I mentioned in the earlier presentation, depending on what the contractor requires, you know, whether they are required to bring a driver's license, a high school or a GED, a letter of recommendation. So out of that 73 people, 42 people returned for document submission. So the other 30-some people decided not to show up. And then out of the 42 people that came to document submission, they were invited back to tryouts. This is when we have the physical fitness test, we have, team building exercises, they get into groups, we have evaluators evaluating the potential trainees, do these exercises, and we watch them for half a day, and then at the end of the half a day, them to leave and check back with us the next day to see if you've gotten chosen to be part of the program. So out of the 42 people that returned for document submission, the 25 people were chosen to take part in the training program. So we just did this whole process at tryouts on this past Friday, August 2nd. So that's a lot, so we do all of this prior to everyone starting the training course. And so we do have RA contractors attend the tryouts so they can see, a lot of times the contractors have said, I want that person right there. I want to hire them. They're doing, yeah. So it's really important to get the contractors involved in the process from the beginning.
Thank you, Viola. That's that's very helpful, and I'm really excited that you were able to talk about that, the LA program more, and then just generally the process. So thank you. And I did want to say just a couple of comments that have come in off the question, Viola, you had raised about job training or job placement organizations on the webinar. We have Clearwater Environmental and General Labor and Industrial Staffing, who has reached out via this webinar to get more information from you and me and Sean and others. But we'll probably, you and I probably will meet them at some point on information on, for staffing and placement. And then there is another organization on too, the St. John Center for Opportunity, has both workforce manager and then relationships with local job navigators. So I'll share that in the chat too with everyone, those names, just so everyone knows, because we have lots of different folks on, so good to connect everyone via the webinar. And I have a question, Viola, for you. Is there transportation support to and from sites for JTI people, JTI folks?
No, we don't. EPA doesn't provide transportation services. So we really would like to connect with area organizations to see if there are any other organizations that can help with, whether it be bus passes or gas cards. We have had experiences in the past where area organizations have donated to our students, those types of things, so that it makes things easier for the students, because during the training, people are not getting paid. They have to come on their own. And, this training is unlike anything else. It's a very boutique program. We're not going after numbers. We're going after quality. And by the time people graduate from our program, we guarantee a great employee, with certificates, and people want to change their lives, and we're giving people a second chance to get it right. So whether they want to support their family or just, get from under the underground economy, it's because they want to get ahead and do better. And so it really shows at graduation when they've made it, because we don't give them anything for free except for the training courses. And it's very helpful. Some people have brought, organizations have brought in pizza on Friday afternoons for lunch for the students. If you would like to give a talk to the students about certain local community environmental topics, we can make arrangements for that. So, we just embrace all kinds of donations and support from the community.
Thanks, Viola. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up this other question that came in now because it relates to what you just said, and I think you just covered it. Is the training time paid?
Right. No, the training time is not paid. No, we don't pay for training. We do pay for all the courses. They could add up to about, I don't know, depending on the length of the training and the type of the training, $50,000, up to $50,000 per student.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a question that I don't think I completely know the answer. Well, I don't know the answer to, but I'm going to go ahead and read it, and then we can discuss it. So a question came through. Can you tell us about ongoing internships that will lead to long-term remediation restoration jobs? We are a nonprofit that does restoration and conservation using traditional indigenous knowledge. And so I'm assuming that those internships would be, that question is being asked for internships in the Portland area that have to do, with long-term remediation and restoration jobs. So I'll start for a second, and then maybe Sean, you and Viola can also weigh in. I would just say that part of that is going, we need to understand that. I need to understand that better, and that's partially, with the scoping that we're going to be doing with additional job training and job placement organizations and academic institutions, getting more information about internships that might lead to some of those jobs is something that, and questions that I want to better understand. I don't know the answer to that question is the answer right now. And that's a good point. So I have a colleague, Julie Congdon actually is in the room with me from the Duwamish Superfund Site as well. And so she's just mentioning that there are environmental workforce development job training grants, but those are brownfields grants. So that's, separate from Super JTI, as Viola said in the beginning. But if right now, separate from Super JTI, your organization wanted to apply for a different kind of grant, that is something you could look into. So I'll type it into the chat here in a moment, environmental workforce development job training grants. So that is an excellent point, Julie. Thank you. So anyway, I was just going to say, doing the scoping with job training, job placement organizations, academic institutions is, something that we want to do, because if we find, perhaps there is a course, at an academic institution that really, helps make people more competitive for long-term remediation or restoration jobs, that's something that we might want to try to tap into for the Super JTI program at Portland, similar to what is being tried out in LA right now. So Viola and Sean, would I hear you? Maybe Viola, do you want to respond first, or Sean, either one of you? Anything you want to add to that?
Hey, Laura, this is Viola.
Hey, Sean, maybe I'll let you go first, and then Viola, you second.
I was just saying I didn't have anything to add to your answer, Laura. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Viola, do you have some other things you?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. So we are starting to run out of questions. So these are wonderful questions. Thank you all so much. We do have one comment that I'll just mention, and that is that the Oregon State Employment Department has support programs for job training, so very helpful to know and to work on connecting with them. So any other questions? I'll give everyone just another minute. I think things are winding down a bit, but this webinar, again, we're recording it right now, and it will be posted online. But if you have any questions that you'd like to ask live while Viola and Sean and myself are all together in the same webinar, please feel free. And I'll give everyone just another couple minutes before we say goodbye. So go